sent to her. The repair probe turned on her active sensors. She was only 715 seconds away from the disturbance. The radar showed a three-dimensional representation of the outer shell of the Jigadison. ZT-34 counted the massive honeycombs that were made of a special alloy. Their surfaces were covered in fine scratches. It looked like an animal with sharp claws had been asking to be let in. But it was simply the evidence that space wasn't empty. The core of the Milky Way acted as a vast gravitational sink that all the trash from the surrounding area gradually rolled into. ZT-34 was proud of herself. If it wasn't for her and her sisters, one of these surface scratches would at some point grow into a tiny crack, and then the radiation pressure from inside would tear the whole sphere apart in an explosion. That would also mean her own death, but that scenario didn't frighten her. Her designer had omitted any survival instincts. After all, the probe was supposed to sacrifice her life in an emergency, without hesitation. Suddenly, ZT-34 couldn't see the honeycomb. Instead, she detected a cylindrical, flat-topped solid mass, which seemed to have attached itself to the outer shell of the Jigadison. It was a couple of meters tall and a few hundred meters wide. K-19 was right. There was an anomaly here, of the highest category. This wasn't the remains of an unfortunate asteroid. ZT-34 observed the object in all wavelengths simultaneously. That was her particular expertise. She could simultaneously evaluate infrared, optical, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma radiation. All of her talents were needed. ZT-34 felt a rush of happiness. Her reward center was operating at full tilt. There were so many measurements to calculate. The solid mass attached to the Jigadison was obviously not merely there. Something was happening inside it. ZT-34 noted thousands of energy streams, and the object even changed shape, slightly but measurably, as the probe flew past it. But where was the material for that coming from? There was only one possible explanation. The object was processing the substance of the sphere somehow, and in doing so, it was weakening the entire structure. A shock flashed through ZT-34's consciousness, the visible signal that was activated automatically whenever a danger limit was exceeded. The probe immediately stopped analyzing the data. The situation was obviously so serious that ZT-34 had to send a report immediately. She collated the most critical data into a packet. Then she oriented herself in space. ZT-34 had to adjust her antennas in such a way that she could reach the highest possible number of monitoring stations simultaneously. She directed her sensors, which until this point had all been examining the sphere, out into the space around her. She wasn't alone. A spaceship was drifting along in almost exactly the same orbit as she was. ZT-34 determined the type and registration. It was a 99er. She had to pass on this data. Who did the ship belong to, and what was it looking for? This area was off limits. The spaceship must have something to do with the object on the shell of the Jigadison. According to the latest data available to her, it was authorized to... ZT-34 had a heat seizure. The probe detected a high-energy X-ray flash, but then couldn't focus on it anymore. Her shell melted, the lonely probe ruptured, and her consciousness evaporated. Cycle GK 2.1 Kepler 1229. Zhenyi tore open the outer door of the shuttle before they had even come to a standstill. "Hey, wait!" called Kepler. But she didn't listen. Alarms were going off all over the cabin. Zhenyi had bypassed various security procedures by disembarking to